Hi, and welcome to this fireside chat about AI, cloud, and the future of intelligent infrastructure. I'm Arif Mohamed, an independent technology journalist, commentator, and presenter. I'm talking today with Dmitry Panenkov, founder and CEO of Emma. Emma stands for Enterprise Multi-Cloud Management Application. The company simplifies cloud management across hybrid and multi-cloud environments, and it does this by using a unified platform. To give today's conversation some context, we're seeing AI transform not just software, but the physical fabric of IT, compute, data centers, networks, and energy. This has an impact on CIO cloud strategy. In fact, it's having a profound impact in multiple areas. I recently hosted and moderated a couple of CIO events in London and heard many CIOs talking about how they're grappling with the way AI is impacting both positively and negatively on cloud infrastructure, workload strategy, cloud costs, sustainability, many other things. We hope this fireside chat with Dmitry will therefore be helpful to many people watching who are asking questions around AI, cloud, and the future of intelligent infrastructure. Welcome, Dmitry, and let's jump straight in. Firstly, I'd like to talk about the AI effect on cloud ops, particularly the growth of agentic AI and automation, which were huge topics at the conferences. And I guess my first question is, how would you describe the scale and speed at which AI is reshaping cloud ops today, both from a workload and infrastructure standpoint?
Yeah, first of all, hi everyone. Hi, Arif. Thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure being here. To your question, so basically how AI is reshaping everything. So first of all, we see that AI is transforming the cloud from static infrastructures to dynamic intelligent systems. So we see that the workloads, they can scale themselves, they can self-heal the problems, and the ops teams, they mostly shift to oversight, right? So they do not work with the different applications or the workloads on a daily or maybe even hourly basis. So we're, in my opinion, or in our opinion, in a broader sense, we're entering an era of an autonomous infrastructures and autonomous applications where the underlying cloud providers and cloud infrastructures or just infrastructures, they become a commodity. So and we do believe that AI plays an instrumental role here in reshaping the entire landscape of not only the clouds platforms and not only around the cloud usage and the cloud behavior, but also the infrastructure and the underlying services and the interconnections as such.
Yeah. So what's the biggest operational shift you've seen since AI started influencing infrastructure automation itself?
So I would say that the biggest shift that we see is in the intent-based operations. So basically, where you define what you want, but not how to do it, right? And then infrastructure, with the support of AI and agents, figures out how to make it happen in real time. So that's the biggest shift we've been observing so far on the marketplace across the bigger organizations who work in the space, who are, for example, the biggest cloud providers themselves. So that's the biggest shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of looking forward, how do you see AI ops evolving from reactive monitoring to autonomous orchestration?
I think that AI ops, used to be more about the alerting and dashboards, etc. But now with the agentic AI, etc., so like with the new era of AI, we are moving towards self-driven, I think, orchestration, and soon, maybe if not today, it will resolve the issues before you even, as a human being, before you even notice them, right? So because I mean, you can see the anomaly in the behavior and of a certain workload, and then you can extrapolate the effect of this anomaly of this workload into the other I would say parts of your infrastructure and the other applications. You can simulate a few possible scenarios, and then you can take a certain action. I mean, you meaning the AI that can take a certain actions to prevent the spread of, I don't know, like malicious software, or I would say the issues associated with the, I don't know, misconfiguration, right? So that's what I think might be the biggest shift from the monitoring to orchestration in the AI ops.
It's a really good point about anomaly detection, really helping to make operations more efficient, and agentic AI can definitely help with that, and among other things, energy optimization, so many other areas, I'm sure. I'd like to shift gears and talk about cost here now, because this is something that, again, many CIOs are grappling with, and I'd like to move on to so-called cloudflation, though I've heard you don't love the term, and the new cost equation that CIOs need to work with. So where are CIOs finding real savings in an age of exponential AI compute demand?
To answer this question, I think we need to first. I mean, we need to uncover how the organizations they work today. I don't want to say like CIOs work today, but let's say organizations in a broader sense. So first of all, the bigger companies, they have been investing for decades in the hardware components, like servers, building up their legacy infrastructures, data centers, etc. And I mean, we are all familiar with this RFPs that people usually spin up, or they usually start when they want to leverage HP against Dell against Lenovo, etc., etc. And that worked well. So basically, at the end of the day, there was always a hunt for discounts, right? And right now, we see that there is a different trend. So people they tend to rethink architecture itself, not just hunting for discounts, and they're rethinking the way they're building their applications and which providers they use, or which provider suits better for specific workloads. So basically, people and organizations, they become smarter in their choices. It's not just a dumb thing where you just say, okay, this provider is cheaper than that. We move all the workloads. If you do not provide us discounts, like the higher discounts that can match the offering of another provider, right? So this smart operations, and especially when you can automate these processes with the support of AI, where your smarter workloads are replacing the legacy, let's say, brute force compute. For example, these workloads, they can, like, scaling across the providers, picking up the cheapest available instances out there, and being 100% independent from the underlying infrastructure. That's the approach we're currently observing, and we think that this is a huge driver for future cost savings associated with the cloud environments and the cloud infrastructure. So basically, efficiency has become a competitive advantage, and in the sake of the efficiency, people they tend to use AI, and they tend to automate the things, and they tend to automate the things the right way, we call it, right? So where you can actually scale the workloads, again, picking up the most efficient resource out there. And this naturally drives your cost savings.
Yes, so you seem to be making a really good point that cost control is now more about architectural design, workload optimization than procurement. There has been a big shift. How would you kind of advise CIOs to begin that journey if they haven't?
I think so. This I would say cost control about the architecture around the architecture as a new procurement strategy should become a new procurement strategy for the bigger organizations, maybe for the mid-sized organizations as well. So in our opinion, and I mean, we try to educate the marketplace on that topic. So we try to explain people that, look, guys, I mean, from the early beginning, you should be 100% independent. So then you do not have these natural vendor lock-ins. So you basically decide which underlying infrastructure to leverage to support the growth of your application or to support your end users, et cetera, et cetera. And again, so this approach, so basically when the architecture is smart enough, that we believe that this becomes a new procurement strategy for the organizations. So you basically cannot negotiate your way out of inefficiency, right? So what you need to do, you need to design well your applications, your infrastructure, and the way these applications they leverage and utilize this infrastructure. And costs, they in this case, they could stay predictable, right? Because you control all the underlying vendors and they do not control you anymore.
I like what you say about cloud independence and good application design. And this next couple of questions kind of leads on from that. And I'd like to talk about rethinking resilience with the decentralized cloud and the model that you're talking about, not being locked into a particular vendor. And in particular, how to mitigate risk in a world dominated by hyperscalers. And this one has really been in the news, obviously, with AWS and others. You know, with hyperscaler outages potentially increasing, how can CIOs diversify risk?
So first of all, that I want to say, and we must admit this, outages, they happen with everyone on a marketplace. And AWS recent outage, or actually Microsoft's recent outage, because after the AWS, I think in a week that happened with Microsoft as well, is just a proof point, right? So these outages, they happen. Moreover, right now we are observing the huge demand on I would say in high capacity compute resources like GPU accelerators. So everyone wants to train their models. Everyone wants to use the GPU equipment. So the NVIDIA is basically one for the inference purposes, etc., etc. These require more compute capacity, and these compute capacity require more power capacity, right? And then, I mean, obviously, outages they happen. What you can do, I mean, the question is what you can do to stay up and running 24/7. I don't want to blame anyone here. These things they happen. So what you can do, you can build your applications and infrastructures and I mean the way that you host the workloads in the resilient and redundant way. So by building redundancy into everything, like clouds, regions, providers, and become more cloud agnostic. So when when your infrastructure is 100% cloud agnostic, it is not a luxury anymore. It is like a mandatory thing. So if there is anything bad happening out there with, let's say, an AWS or the other provider, your application stays up and running, and like rescaling the underlying nodes across the other providers, so your customers, they continue getting the services from you, and you're not losing like customers' money, and there's no reputational damage on that. So basically, it's now a part of a baseline risk management for the majority of organization, I would say.
Yeah, so actually you're kind of saying that multi-cloud is really now a resilient strategy, not just a cost one, and over-centralization has its own risks. Correct?
I would say, just to add my 5 cents, we've been interviewing a lot of organizations out there, speaking with the different types of companies, different verticals, different business verticals, etc. And look, people, they do not want to be multi-cloud. So when you ask someone, like, do you really want like to be multi-cloud, or what does it mean your like multi-cloud strategy? You realize that actually everyone is afraid of the complexity. So everyone tells you, look, I mean, this provider is already a way too complicated with all of these hundreds of thousands of managed services. We don't even know, should we go with the managed service for the containers, or we should go with the Kubernetes, or we go with the serverless. Nobody understands this, right? Even the providers. And there is a proof point. AWS, not AWS, Amazon, they have decided one day to move their Prime video streaming service, this like online theater, from the monolithic application into the serverless managed service of an AWS. You know what happened next? When they have completed this migration, they realized, and these guys, they are the biggest cloud service provider in the world. They have so many engineers. You cannot hire more high-skilled professionals with the knowledge of an AWS than AWS has today. So these guys, they were like, okay, let's do this. So they've done this, and they realized that this type of infrastructure, this type of service doesn't work well for the type of an application they were trying to host there. So basically for this Prime Video streaming service. And they have rebuilt everything completely, and they moved everything back to the monolithic application.
Wow.
That's the greatest example that illustrates that, the infrastructures, they are way too complicated, and the cloud service providers, they have built a lot of great services, but on the other hand, it doesn't help organizations to properly and easily adopt these services. Imagine now that you have 3 or maybe 5 providers at the same time, and not intentionally because of a business needs. Like, you're a Walt Disney of this world, and you're scaling across the globe, and you find yourself somewhere in South America where you don't have your favorite provider, and you're like, okay, we have a local one, and we have millions of users. And they expect us to launch this service. So let's pick this provider. So you can naturally find yourself in a multi-cloud setup. So again, get to my point. Nobody intentionally wants to find themselves in a multi-cloud setup. But what everyone really wants to have is this ability to leverage and control different vendors. So basically to stay more agnostic. So today my applications, they sit with Google or in between of Google and Microsoft. Tomorrow, this Azure and DigitalOcean, AWS and DigitalOcean. The day after tomorrow, we use the local providers because of a sovereignty hype, right? So that's what everyone wants, and not being multi-cloud because this is a new buzzword, hype thing, etc., etc.
Yeah. You make so many good points there, and I love the illustration that you gave of even Amazon with Prime having to try something different. I think lots of technology leaders will be pleased to hear that even the at the top technology companies, they're still trying to, find the right architecture for the right workloads, and are willing to, roll stuff back and to make it work. So yeah, Mods Cloud definitely helps as a strategy to make sure that you can stay efficient across the organization and all its workloads. I'd like to kind of change tack here and tackle another big one, which is sustainability. And let me ask you about sustainable cloud design and carbon accounting. And this is something that at both of the conferences I was at, it's something that many organizations are really looking deeply into. We had some great case studies of large enterprises that are really getting to grips with carbon accounting and embedding it at every level. So how can technology leaders embed sustainability into their daily infrastructure decisions? Dmitry.
That's my favorite topic, to be honest, because there's always my personal opinion on that, and I would say the industry opinion. And with regards to this specific topic, they go, in a bit of different directions. So let's start with the industry opinion on that. So first of all, again, so we live on our planet, and this is like super important. So our planet stays alive as long as possible. And 100%, I totally agree with that personally. So I love Earth, and I definitely want to save the planet and make it a better place. And sustainability, first of all, starts with the design, and that's my opinion, not with the reporting, because you take these numbers out of the blue. Mostly, you get these numbers from the data center providers, or you get these numbers from the cloud service providers themselves. Energy usage, carbon cost. They must guide the decisions. However, we need to carefully research where this data is coming from and how much this data is reliable. Because again, nobody measures the that's my favorite topic. I'm a networking engineer. Nobody measures the effect of a networking interconnections, right? And the data transfers. All these cables that lay under the sea, who actually measures the effect out of these data transfers, leveraging these underlying cables. They warm the sea, but how much they warm the sea, how this affects the species life out there, we don't know. We just simply get the reports. Okay, so our data center is 95% carbon free, and we're happy with that. However, again, so this is where my opinion is slightly different to the industry ones. I would prefer, as I said before, to rely on the real statistics, and I would prefer to start building the sustainable infrastructure again by design, and not by the reporting numbers that we get from someone we cannot even trust 100%, because we cannot get to proof points where this data is coming from. So that's what I would say, like broadly, about the sustainability. However, automation always enables real-time carbon visibility, and again, in case you have access to the right data points, right? And then, if you get the access to the right data points, you can try to improve the infrastructure to meet your sustainability goals. And again, the biggest question is where to get this proof points that you can trust.
Let me ask you personally, as an organization, what does Emma do in terms of embedding technologies or techniques to make your data centers greener, and kind of what's your approach to green ops as a company?
So look, what we do. First of all, we do not have our own data centers. So even our compute nodes, they sit with the data center providers, and when we choose the data center providers, we choose the most sustainable and the ones we can definitely dig deeper into the details and be 100% sure that the numbers they show us, they are not drawn by someone. They are real numbers with the tangible underlying proofs. So that's the first thing. Secondly, we are now working on the next release of our platform, where we will be transparently sharing with organizations the sustainability metrics and the carbon footprint metrics on the different types of nodes and in the different types of locations. And based on these metrics, organizations have an ability to create a certain schedules of or plan their infrastructure growth, picking up the most suitable instances out there to, to meet their sustainability goals. So that's what we do to ensure that our customers they get the real-time information, the trustworthy information across the variety of cloud service providers and data center providers. And the beauty of our solution here is that we are 100% independent provider. So we do not need to promote our own data centers, our own compute. We simply don't care. That's why we can provide the trustworthy information to our customers and users, and they can rely on it 100%.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Dmitry. Good stuff. We are coming towards the end of our interview now, and I'd love to talk about the changing role of the CIO, and particularly the pressures that they grapple with. So CIOs, as I'm hearing, are under increasing pressure with an expanding mandate that covers multiple areas, and they're having to really, be technically literate, be able to manage strategy. And we talked about kind of green accounting, all the rest of it. In your view, and I know you talk to a lot of customers, how is the role of the CIO evolving in this age of AI acceleration and accountability?
So, in my opinion, CIOs now, they are more business strategists with a tech lens than a hands-on engineers. We think and we see that the most successful CIOs and the most successful organizations and their technical teams, they're led by the CIOs who understand that the world is changing fast. And there are a lot of technologies that appear in the marketplace always, and you need to adopt to those changes really, really fast. So these guys, they never respond to you in the way of, we can build this internally ourselves, or yeah, of course, that's the engineering thing, that this is something that our guys can build up, or we can hire more engineers, they can build up this stuff. Of course, everything in this world is being built by the engineer, right? So has been built by the engineer. So we can, all the cars, houses, computers, everything. Yeah. But if your core business is furniture or you produce toys, you can spend some time and the resources building up the multi-cloud management platforms. However, is it a core need of yours? Or you just need to make your application scalable across the providers, leveraging the cheapest and the best available instances out there to meet your corporate goals and reduce your infrastructure bills by 35% in the next 2-3 months. So that's why I'm saying the most efficient CIOs and the most successful CIOs I've met so far, they are more great managers with the strategic outlook on a different types of a technology problems and the aspects of a business, with the fundamental, this is important, with the fundamental financial knowledge So they know how to calculate ROI, right? They understand the figures. They can set the KPIs to their team, not only in terms of the number of the nodes that have been deployed, or not in the number of compute services, or not in the number of people you have hired, but also in a tangible metrics associated with your existing applications and scalability of your infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. And just with those kind of points in mind, what new skills or mindsets do you feel that technology leaders need to navigate this new world, particularly as AI proliferates?
Yeah, so first of all, there are a lot of like AI tools, agentic AI. So all of us, I think we're waiting for like real AGI. There are a lot of buzzwords, and there are a lot of hype and trending products out there. So to avoid the distraction, every one of us and the CIOs, first side, they need to think systematically, right? So they need to think systematically across the functions they have in their teams, and they need to understand in depth the technologies they want to leverage, and how to properly leverage the new technologies that exist out there for the benefit of a company. And then they can automate fearlessly. They need to learn constantly, and they need to let go of control and embrace to our topic, the proper orchestration across the different, not only the providers, right, but across the different tools, applications, and the other sort of things they use in their daily operations. In the AI era, the mindset actually beats the manual skills. So if it was always like this, David and Goliath, right? So your brain outperforms the other skills. So that's what I mean.
Brilliant stuff. So just as we come to a close of this fireside chat, I'd just love to get some summary thoughts on this topic of AI, cloud, and the future of intelligent infrastructure. Any key takeaways that you'd like to leave people with from the conversation that we've had today, from your perspective, from Emma's perspective?
I think the key takeaway, and I just said this, so you and all of us, me, you, everyone on the marketplace, we just need to learn constantly. And in today's environment and in today's landscape, if we stop learning, we'll get outdated really fast. Like 20 years ago, I'm too old to remember these good days, but 20 years ago in my professional career, you were losing the entire I would say entire sense of a market if you're away for 12 months. So 12 months after, you're like, okay, what's going on out there? So you lost all your connections. You do not even understand what is going on. If you're completely disconnected for 12 months, I don't know, you took a sabbatical and you went fishing. These days, 3 months time frame, 1 quarter, everything is completely different. And if you're not at the edge of the innovation, if you do not understand the new things that appear in the marketplace, you can't be successful. You cannot simply.
Yeah. Certainly keeps technology leaders on their toes. Dmitry Panenkov, founder and CEO of Emma, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you for your insights.
Yeah, thanks a million for having me. It was a great conversation and great questions. Appreciate your time.